Hi guys, I'm back again with some more stories for you today. Let's go to the first one, about OP's late brother's ex, who demands OP pays child support for his niece. Listen to the story to find out all the details, and of course to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. Yesterday night, my brother's ex-girlfriend Mia called me, questioning when I would start paying child support, as she needed to pay her bills. Here's some context. My late brother used to pay $440 monthly to Mia, which she used to settle her utilities, food bills, clothing, and things. Her actual salary supposedly went to her rent. She's a waitress, so she doesn't get paid much, but she also got kicked out of school, so her fault. As I said, she phoned me yesterday, expecting me to tell her the date I would start paying child support to my niece. But the thing is, I never agreed to anything. She called me out of the blue with her entitled narcissistic voice and demanded to know when I would start paying. So I asked what on earth gave her the idea I would give a cent to a child that isn't mine, nevertheless hers. I should add that I have no relationship with my niece, and I've only seen her a few times unexpectedly. Nor did my brother have a relationship with his daughter, mainly because of her toxic, annoying mother, who thinks the world revolves around her, and I like to keep my family small. She rudely replied, why wouldn't I want to provide financial help to my niece, as we are family? Then she went rattling on about it's my job as her uncle to look after her, and all that family nonsense. The conversation carried on for a while, so I'll just trim it down. I told her to shut up, and to ask her family, who don't even like her, for money, and stop bothering me, the man of the brother she treated horribly. After I mentioned her family, I hit a trigger that set her off. She began to insult my brother's funeral, my family's private mausoleum, and called me disgusting for hoarding so much of my money and refusing to give her anything. She even went so far as to hate my children and call them horrible names. But I just hung up, as I was tired of hearing her voice. She's still angry from reading my brother's will and found out I inherited everything, and that I was giving my brother $100,000 annually, and he only gave her $440 monthly. But none of this is my problem. It's not my child. So am I the a-hole? I don't think OP is in the wrong here, since the baby mama seems entitled and greedy. Obviously, OP has no legal obligation to support his niece, but equally obvious, nobody involved is thinking about her well-being. However, it would be a good thing to set up a trust fund for niece that she can access at 18 or 25. And now let's see if the community agrees with my opinion. Queen of Meh 1987 says, not the a-hole. It's not your kid, so it's not your financial responsibility. Also, Social Security survivor benefits are what kicks in when a parent dies. My boyfriend's mom died when he was 19, and his youngest sister was 12. She received Social Security from her mom until she was 18. Living Highlight says, not the a-hole, but maybe start, what's it called? The kind of account you can't access until you turn 18. My brain is blanking. It's not your niece's fault her mother is an a-hole, and if you do have the means, it might be a nice thing to do. Just make sure her mom can't access it. Maybe don't even tell her about it. Trust fund, I remembered. Groundbreaking Boat 8 says, not the a-hole. If you had a relationship with the niece and you wanted to help, sure, that would be a nice gesture, but no obligation. My dad passed away when I was only a baby. My paternal grandparents were my main caregivers while my mom worked until I was about 4, which is when she met Jason. There was some weirdness between them, and I'm not sure about all that went on. But I do know when they were engaged, which was 6 months after they met, Mom was in an accident and my grandparents took care of me until Mom got out. I know this angered Jason and my mom. She felt like my grandparents should have left me with Jason and given me a chance to bond with him, because to hear my mom tell it, all I wanted was my grandparents when I was little, and when the accident first happened, I cried for them when I realized I couldn't see her. It sounds like there might have been a social worker involved, though I don't really remember it. Jason adopted me when I was 5. He and my mom had just gotten married. They told me it was going to happen, and I asked them not to, but they told me Jason was going to be my dad. I never called him Dad. I always used his first name and called him my stepdad, which bothered them. They blamed my grandparents because my grandparents shared a lot about my dad with me. My mom tried to cut me off from my grandparents, but the courts declared that since I had such a strong attachment to my grandparents, and they were a connection to my biological dad, that I deserved to maintain that relationship. I ended up getting to see them every other weekend, and I got one overnight a month with them. I loved it. I never fully felt comfortable with Jason. He tried super hard to be my dad. He would spoil me, would take time out of his day to spend it with me. But he was also so jealous when he saw that I kept a photo of my dad close to my bed, and when he walked in on me talking to the photo while I was little. He'd get upset when I wrote notes from my dad's grave for Father's Day. As a kid, I used to believe more in people existing after death, and knowing what we said to them and wrote to them, so I did that sometimes. I can recognize that Jason was pained by the fact I was talking to and writing to my dad. I never knew and would never remember, and still used his first name. But it also changed how I felt, or how I feel today. His hatred for my grandparents didn't win me over either. I do think I loved Jason, but I would never say he was my dad. I'm now in my 20s and engaged to a wonderful human. My grandma is walking me down the aisle. I told my mom and Jason before asking, so they could be prepared. Jason asked about money, which I had never asked for or discussed with him. When I told him my fiance and I were paying, he offered to pay so he could give me away. I got mad, told him again that I never asked for that, and said it was insulting to think he could pay me to walk me down the aisle. He and my mom think I am insensitive to his feelings, given I know he considers me his daughter, and I've never accepted him as my dad. Am I the a-hole? I don't understand why so many parents fail to realize that if they stop trying to force a relationship, odds are good a relationship will form. If Jason were more secure and didn't try to push OP away from OP's grandparents and get mad OP had a photo of her dad, OP probably would have been able to get closer to him. It's OP's wedding and her choice. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Scarlett's a Color says, not the a-hole. It makes sense that after bonding so much with your grandparents, that you would prefer one of them to walk you down the aisle, compared to a man who sounds like he is forcing a father-daughter relationship with you and trying to bribe his way into your ceremony. Corin Hell says, not the a-hole. He can't just try and buy his way into your ceremony. While traditionally the father of the bride walks her down the aisle, you were robbed of this choice at a very young age. And since you never had that kind of bond with your stepdad, it's completely understandable to want someone else to walk you down the aisle. Serious Day says, not the a-hole. I definitely don't feel bad for Jason. He should have never talked crap about your grandparents in front of you, or denied you the opportunity to have your dad's picture beside you at night. He screwed up big time when he thought paying would earn him to walk you down the aisle. My question is, would your grandparents even be in your life if they didn't fight for visitation rights? Probably not. Your wedding, you paid for it, your choice. I, 30 female, am fully aware that when you make a list, many would say that I would fit in the title of golden child. It's not something that I aspired to be, nor is it something that I actively lord over my sister, Tammy, 27 female. It's just how my parents treated us. When Tammy was 13, she did something that she wasn't supposed to, knew that she shouldn't do it, knew that our parents would punish her if she did, and tried to do it behind their backs. Well, because of her actions, the garage caught on fire, which then spread to the house. The smoke detectors went off and the fire department came, so everyone was fine, but the house was unlivable and a lot of sentimental items were lost. Unfortunately, there was a mistake with the monthly payment for homeowners insurance, so my parents didn't get much money, and we had to live in hotels and/or on the kindness of relatives and friends. My parents had to work crazy extra hours while looking for an affordable apartment and were furious with my sister. They didn't express their anger, but they made it known that they were not happy with Tammy. I got my own room in the apartment while Tammy had to sleep on an air mattress. I was allowed to keep one of my extracurricular activities while Tammy lost all of hers. I was trusted with a lot more freedom while Tammy was expected to come straight home after school and couldn't go anywhere on the weekends. Tammy often cried and begged for forgiveness, and my parents' response would just be, "What do we do with that?" or "Tears don't equal cash." As soon as Tammy was legally able to work, my parents expected her to in order to pay them back for the damage she caused, while they gave me an allowance. We still celebrated Tammy's birthdays, but mine were nicer, and she knew better than to confront my parents about it, because they would tell her that her birthday money was spent on paying back the people they borrowed from when they needed money to help pay for the damage she caused. My parents helped me with college, while Tammy was expected to figure it out on her own. I was angry at Tammy for a long time too, but after seeking help with my struggles, I decided to start forgiving Tammy, and we've had a few heart-to-hearts. Unfortunately, Tammy felt as if that meant I'd be her ally against our parents, and I'm just not there yet. I was completely shocked when she called our parents out at family dinner and stayed silent when she looked at me for support. Our parents lashed out at her, and she went crying to her room. I gave it a day, and when I texted her to see how she was feeling, she lashed out at me for relishing in being the golden child. I told her that it was wrong of her to do what she did without asking if I'd support her 100% first. Am I the a-hole? Well, OP is clearly in the wrong here, because she does relish in it. OP clearly told her she agreed with her, which finally gave her courage, and then OP played both sides. Didn't want to lose those good child privileges at 30, huh? I wonder, does OP know who is responsible for a 13-year-old? The parents. They opted to not supervise their child, resulting in an accident. Or maybe OP was supposed to be watching her and failed as the babysitter. Also, who is responsible for maintaining bills and insurance? The parents. They lapsed on their own. This lifelong punishment is absolutely disgusting, and OP sat by and watched it happen for over a decade. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Accomplished 2 1611 says, Tammy was wrong for her actions, but your parents took her punishment way too far. I don't think her paying a portion of the damages back is wrong, but the different levels of birthdays and not paying for her college were awful choices. If you agreed with what your sister said, yes, you should have supported her. But I guess golden child privilege is too good to give up. You're the a-hole. Movie writer 1336 says, Jesus, 13-year-olds do stupid stuff. Your parents were well within their rights to be super pissed and enforce some punishment. However, your parents' ducking suck. Awful. You may have never asked for preferential treatment, but watching them treat your sister this way and never saying a word does indeed make you the a-hole, and probably a de facto only child once she leaves you all behind. Bartok the Baddie says, So you and your parents have been punishing Tammy for 14 years? You're the a-hole, and so are they. So I'm 28 female, engaged to Jake, 27 male. We've been together for 5 years, and I'm currently pregnant with our second child, who's due any day now. I get along with his family, except for Jenny, who was dating Jake from ages 14 to 16. She ended up moving in with him because of issues at home, and she's also super close to his sister. Jake told me when they broke up, it caused issues, and he ended up moving out at 17 to live with his uncle, which Jenny saw as them choosing her. Jake was no contact with his family when we got together, but they ended up speaking again after we had our first child, and Jenny at that stage claimed them as her own family. For as long as I've known her, she makes jokes about being the favorite, and that if any of the siblings or her parents gets on her wrong side, she'll have them kicked out of the family like she did Jake. Not true. When we first met them, Jenny was extremely cold and rude to me. She kept making comments about how disappointed she was in Jake. Obviously, it's gotten better, but she literally told me multiple times I'll never be a part of their family, and keeps making out I'm just a fling that will disappear any day. My in-laws had a get-together tonight for dinner, and a few drinks. Obviously, with my being 2 days overdue, everyone was buzzing and giving me attention, which pissed Jenny off. I came out of the bathroom at one stage, and Jenny, who clearly had one too many, was waiting for me. She told me that no matter how many times I get knocked up, or even when I wear my white dress, she looked me up and down. Though I shouldn't. She'll still be always more important, because if they choose her over their own son, they'll definitely choose her over some S who got knocked up after dating a guy for 6 weeks. I told her, actually, I'm more important, and I'm never going away, because I'm the mother of their grandchildren, and I'm gonna have their last name, which Jake nor his parents ever gave her, and all she is to them is a charity case who needs to get over her ex. Whole different story there. And she needs to see a therapist to work on her issues. Then I told her, sober up, she looks pathetic. She then broke down crying, and everyone came to see what was going on. I told Jake I wanted to go home. His family are on my side after hearing the whole story, but her sister is mad for what I told her, and said it's triggering her abandonment issues, which will put Jenny back into a dark place. Glittering Mix 818 says, Not the a-hole. I'm surprised you lasted this long. I would have told her all that and worse the first time she attacked me. Lane's Ecosasis says, Not the a-hole. Jenny needs therapy, lots of it. Whatever happened with her family led to her fixation and fear of losing this family. But it is not an excuse to insult you and your place in the family. You didn't trigger her abandonment issues. They were on full display when she confronted you. If your future sister-in-law cares about Jenny, she should stop putting the blame on you and get her friend some help. Shell of Brittany says, "Not the a-hole. I'm so proud of you. You told her exactly what she needed to hear, and then you didn't entertain it any further by telling your fiancé you wanted to go home. Who cares if sister-in-law is mad? Let her coddle her all she wants. What you said is true, and in the future, if she says that kind of stuff to you again, I think you should remind her of her place in the family, since she may forget once she sobers up." My ex and I got divorced 4 years ago because he cheated on me. We have a 7-year-old son together. He's going through some kind of midlife crisis, I guess, and keeps dating different women. His new toy is a young girl in her early 20s, and he seems to be serious about her. They got engaged a few months ago. A few days ago, when it was my custody time, my son was invited to my ex-mother-in-law's home for her birthday. When it was time to go after my son and bring him back home, my ex-mother-in-law insisted I go in and eat some cake, and I agreed. My ex's new toy was there, and talking to my ex-sister-in-law. She asked her how many kids she is planning to have, and she answered that she has always wanted 2 kids, and since she already has a son, she just wants one more, hopefully a girl. Newsflash, she doesn't have any kids. She was talking about my kid. I told her to never refer to my son as hers again, and reminded her that she doesn't have a child, and my son is only mine. She called me a crazy bee, and asked me if I'm about to leave soon. I took my son and left. Maybe a walrus says, "You're the a-hole. Your ex did a bad thing. Not this woman, neither your son. And you know that sooner or later, your son is going to have a stepmom. Your ex found a woman that is willing to treat your son like her own, and not try to throw him away to start her own family. That's a blessing, not a curse. Stop throwing good co-parenting by the window, and start thinking about what is best for your child." Cursed818 says, "You're the a-hole. The dehumanizing way you are talking about a human being is horrific. She is not a toy. She is a person. The only thing you're doing is exposing how cruel, judgmental, and nasty your character is. If you carry on thinking about someone like this, you're going to drive even more people away than you already have. If you hate your ex this much, fine. But redirecting your hate for him at someone completely innocent in your separation is unacceptable. Your son will remember the way you're treating a woman who is going to be a stepmother, and that may well backfire on you. You're making your son's life harder by being so adversarial. Do you even care about that? And for the record, your son is not only yours. He is your ex's child as well. And if your ex does marry this woman, she will be a stepmother, and you've made an enemy of her already. Not a smart move.